What's up guys? My name is Zach and today I am driving a 2022 Volkswagen Tiguan SEL R-Line. Up front is a 2.0 liter turbocharged inline 4 and down below is an 8-speed automatic transmission. Now I am super excited to be driving this Tiguan for multiple reasons. First of all, I don't film a whole lot of Volkswagens here on the channel, and so I want to fix that and bring you more modern Volkswagen products. The second reason is the fact that I love the way that this Tiguan looks. This is a top trim Tiguan as well, and so we have a lot of bells and whistles to talk about today. But if you would like a video of your own vehicle, you could submit it to my website, zackpraedel.com. It's a quick and easy submission form, takes under a minute. All I need is your approximate location so I know in what region of the country you're in, make, model, and trim of the car, and that's it. But let's get back to that 2-liter turbo under the hood. Well, Volkswagen loves using this engine. Pretty much all of their products get a form of this engine in one way or another. Even Porsches use this engine. The base model Macan uses this engine. Most of the Audi products use some form of this engine. So it's pretty well known and well documented by the Volkswagen Group. It makes 184 horsepower, which is pretty decent, especially in the segment that seems to be about the median ground for, like, say, the CX-5, Toyota RAV4, Honda CR-V, vehicles of this size and stature. Now, like I said, paired to it is an 8-speed automatic transmission. I love the fact that they don't use CVTs, so that's a big win for Volkswagen. And overall, I think the driving experience has been really good so far. Last but not least about the drivetrain, this is all-wheel drive. Now, the SEL R-Line only comes in all-wheel drive. However, if you do select some of the lower trim levels, like the SE, you can get front-wheel drive if that's something that you prefer, or if that's a trim level that you get. So how does it feel to actually drive the Tiguan SEL R-Line? Well, it's a really, really nice driving experience. I don't feel underpowered in any way, like I said, with that engine, and this is the only engine offered in the Tiguan at the moment. Visibility is actually pretty good for an SUV. I think the steering has a good weight to it, not too heavy and not too light. There is an okay amount of road noise. It's not amazing, but it's also not terrible. I think it's decently livable. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have a nearly digital gauge cluster. Off to the left and right, I do get physical gauges for the coolant temperature and fuel, but then I get completely digital in the center, which I can configure multiple different ways. Off to the left, I do have a tachometer, and off to the right is my speedometer, but again, you get a bunch of cool information. I think this helps the Tiguan feel really, really fresh and new, and it definitely keeps up with modern products. On the steering wheel, on the left, I have my cruise control options as well as my volume, and off to the right, I have my voice commands, skip track, pages, and heated steering wheel. Now, these buttons are the haptic buttons from Volkswagen, which I don't particularly love, but through talking with the owner, he said that they're not great at first, but you end up getting used to it after driving the car for a little bit, and that it's not really an issue beyond that. So I'll take his word for it. These buttons I don't love, but they're definitely not a deal breaker. The steering wheel also has a little R at the bottom, R-Line specific. It's wrapped in leather, and I quite like it. Off to the left, I do have a climate control vent and the headlight switch, as well as a little cubby. And on the door, we get the Fender speaker, so this does get the upgraded Fender speaker system and lock and unlock. And then we have the power mirrors and power windows down below, and a trunk release down by my left shin. Moving into the center, I get 2 more climate control vents, as well as the hazard switch and the infotainment system. This infotainment system is shared with pretty much all modern Volkswagen products, and I like it. I think it functions really well. I think it's relatively easy to use, and that is what I always look for when it comes to Volkswagen products.
Oh, it also has wireless Apple CarPlay, just in case you were curious.
Here's what the backup camera looks like, in case you're wondering. Moving down below the infotainment screen, we do have our climate controls. Again, these are the sort of touch buttons, which I don't really love, but we do get heated and ventilated seats, fan speed, dual zone, and it lights up in a really, really nice way. I think aesthetically, these climate controls are absolutely fantastic. I love the way that they look. Then we do get two USB-C ports, which I love. That feels very, very fresh and modern. And then a regular 12-volt outlet. And in front of that, we do get a wireless charger. Again, a really nice feature to have. Then we come to the shifter area. So obviously we do have the shifter. This has been pretty much the same in most Volkswagen products over the last couple of years. And I like it. The shift pattern is up at the top. It's easy to get in and out of gear, and I don't have any complaints about it. Off to the left, we do have the power parking brake and two dead switches, which I don't love seeing dead switches in a high trim car, but not the end of the world. And then off to the right, we have the automatic start stop on and off. Love seeing that. The parking assist. So this vehicle will park itself. However, you have to control the throttle, which I actually prefer. As a safety feature, I think that actually makes a lot more sense. And then we do have our parking sensors and camera button, which is really nice to see. We also do get several drive modes here. So for drive modes, we have Eco, Sport, Normal, and Custom. And then we can also do Snow, Off-Road Auto, and Off-Road Custom. So you can really get some interesting drive modes if you do want that out of the Tiguan. Then we have a little tray and the cup holders. So we will do a big friggin' bottle test here in the 2022 Volkswagen Tiguan SEL R-Line, and much like I predicted, unfortunately it fails, which is okay. Most vehicles in this segment don't pass anyway, so right on par with its competitors. Then we do get a center console, and we'll talk about the seats. The seats are power, memory, heated, and ventilated, so you get all of your little goodies that you might want here in the Tiguan, which I love to see. Of course, this is the fully loaded version, but it's still nice that they do offer those great features. Speaking of seats, however, we do have back seats, so let's go do a back seat review. All right, so we're in the back of the 2022 Volkswagen SEL R-Line, and a couple of things to note. First of all, the seat is moved back a little bit further than I would probably have it for driving. So my knees do touch it a little bit, but the driver could be nice and scoot it up. The back seat space is very on par with its competitors and other vehicles in this segment. If you really need the back seat space, I would highly recommend going up to the Atlas, which is the larger Volkswagen SUV that also encompasses a third row. However, we don't have a third row here in the Tiguan, but what we do have is two climate control vents down below, little cubby, and a USB-C charger, as well as a 12-volt outlet. I also do get a center console here with two cup holders, and I get to enjoy this panoramic sunroof. It extends from in front of the driver and passenger all the way back to the second row, which is really nice to see. I get to enjoy it, although it is a gloomy, overcast day. In theory, I could look at the stars if it wasn't so crappy outside, but that's not the Tiguan's fault. I do get little LED lights, which you might be thinking isn't a big flex, but it actually is. The Mazda CX-5, at least the last one that I drove, still had yellow warm incandescent bulbs. This is actually in the 21st century, which is nice. So plenty of wins in the back of the Tiguan. However, speaking of the back of the Tiguan, let's hop out. We'll take a quick look at the trunk and cargo space, and then we'll talk about the looks. All right, I apologize about the wind noise. We had one of the worst storms we've had in a while last night, but I do have a little trunk release here on the key fob. Come up here, and it is a power tailgate. Once we are back here, a couple of things to note. We do have levers for the back seats to go down manually. We have these nice added little cubbies off to the left and the right, and I can pull this up. We get our cargo cover, spare tire, and our fender. Not really subwoofer, but kind of subwoofer in the back, which I really like. So plenty of space. Here's the overall space of the Tiguan, which I really like. Definitely in this segment, plenty of rear cargo room, and I love to see that. Now we gotta talk about the looks. And first of all, right off the back, this is finished in Atlantic Blue, which is a $395 option. However, it is a very worthy option in my opinion. I think this Tiguan looks amazing, not only in the color. Yes, the Atlantic Blue certainly helps, because it's nice to see a Volkswagen product not in black, silver, or gray, but also I think it's designed really well. There's a light bar that runs across the front of the vehicle. I think the shape of it is not overly aggressive, but it's also not flimsy. It looks the part, and I really like Volkswagen's current design language. I think they're riding that line really, really well when it comes to not being overly in your face, but it also leaves some type of impact on you. It's not completely bland. So kudos to you, Volkswagen, for your current design language. But with all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving a Volkswagen Tiguan from 2022? Well, I think that there's a lot of things that this car does right and a handful of things that it does wrong. First of all, you know me, I always like to end on a high note, so let's talk about the things that I don't like. The haptic buttons in here, I really dislike. And it's not the Tiguan's fault. I also drove a Mark 8 GTI, same exact complaint. I just prefer the actual click and feel of a physical button. And Volkswagen themselves have come out and said, well, we're actually going to work on making this system better, and if anything, maybe even reverting back to buttons for the customer experience. So they are aware of this problem. I'm not writing any new book here. It is what it is. The only other thing I can really think of is the fact that there is no larger V6 or just larger engine offered. I don't think the 2-liter turbo is bad, but I do think for certain people that is going to be a downside. For me personally, Zack of sound body and mind, I think it's fine. I like the 2-liter turbo. I think it's a good engine, but I just know people out there that are going to scoff at 184 horsepower being the top dog and write this car off completely. So I do wish that I guess it had a bigger engine, at least offered for those people. But let's talk about what it does right. The actual driving experience has been really good. Yes, the road noise is a little loud, but for a vehicle in this segment, that's pretty run-of-the-mill. I think besides the buttons, the touch points in here are really nice. Seats are comfortable, steering wheel feels great, and it is a very easy, nice driving experience. I don't have to overwork myself just to make this car go in a straight line. And you might be laughing at your computer screen, but there's definitely vehicles here in 2023 that are quite the chore just to get to drive down the road. The Tiguan isn't like that. It's not going to cause you more issues. And the last thing, the biggest thing for me, is just how this car looks. In this trim level, the SEL R line, I think it actually looks really special. The SUV market is so saturated right now, and everyone always posts online, oh, every manufacturer makes the same exact car. I don't fully believe that that's true, and Volkswagen is helping me prove that point. This feels different, looks different than the competition. It has more edge to it than your standard soccer mom SUV, and I like that. This car makes me feel special. This car makes me feel different. It sticks out from the crowd. And that is what I want from an automobile. Once a car gets down the basics of working, running, and driving, the next thing I always look for is uniqueness and specialty, and this car delivers that. I'm a big fan. I think I'll continue to be a Volkswagen fan for the foreseeable future, and that makes me happy. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Brent for letting me take out his Tiguan. I actually reviewed his Mark 7 GTI last year, of which he actually traded in for this exact vehicle. Brent is absolutely awesome to work with. I cannot thank him enough for making this happen, and I look forward to working with him more in the future. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.